Hello from gardening at Douentza, and this video is coming to you from Cologne in Germany, where I'm spending a very short period of time, but I really have to show you something amazing I discovered today. And it's the Camellia collection in the greenhouse here at the Botanic Gardens in Cologne. So it was a complete surprise for me to find these fantastic flowers all in full bloom here, and you just really have to come along and have a look at them. First ever camellia collection that I've seen in flower, and wow, I just want to buy camellias. So we're going to take a look around this vast greenhouse and take a good look at a variety of different camellias. Now the good news is that I've put the names of the majority of the camellias on there for your convenience in case you want to look one up and buy it for yourself. The camellias we're going to be looking at today are mostly from three species, from the japonica species, from the reticulata species, and from the williamsii species. And I'll talk about the differences between the three as we go around. But I suppose, you know, as we look at these glorious blooms, the really good news is that Camellia japonica is hardy in Ireland and in many places. In fact, it's hardy to zone 6. So why have they put all these camellias inside a greenhouse if they're quite hardy? And the answer is simply that, you know, in a greenhouse you can have earlier flowers and there's little danger of the flowers being spoilt by sun. And that's a big thing with camellias, especially the ones that flower early on in the year. If they come out and you have a late frost, then it doesn't do the plant any damage, but it can spoil the flower display, and the only reason we grow them really is for that fantastic flower display. So it would be a terrible shame to mess up on that. So camellias come originally from China and Japan, and they were much prized by Europeans before they could ever be grown here. And I guess the attraction is that these flowers very often look like roses, but without the horrible foliage and thorns that roses tend to go along with. In any case, the first camellias were flowered in Europe, in England, in the beginning of the 1700s, and I guess our passion for this wonderful bush and these fantastic flowers has just gone from strength to strength since then. Up until now, we've been looking mostly at japonica hybrids. So, sorry, nothing here for the species snobs, but look at the variety there is in terms of petals, shape, size and colour in the camellia. I mean, there's everything from different ranges of pink to white to yellow to red. And look at the shape on this one. They are just the most wonderful flowers. And despite the camellia's very elegant and dainty appearance, these are really very garden-worthy plants. Camellias can be grown in either sun or shade, and they take a well-drained mix. Now, if you have acid soil, you're in luck, because camellias love acid soil. But if you don't have acid soil in your garden, you can always grow one of the smaller varieties in a pot. They take well to that. Another tip when growing camellias in the garden is to site them so that they don't get dew overnight, because it's a deadly combination. The plant gets covered in dew overnight and then the sun comes up, and when the sun comes up it melts off all the dew and turns the petals brown. So very often what we see in people's gardens are badly sited camellias that end up with brown petals, premature brown petals. Now, when camellias are in flower, they really are glorious. But when they're not in flower, the bush makes quite a neat shrub. So it has evergreen leaves, and really that lends itself well to topiary. You can prune them as well, prune them into neat shapes if that's what you really want in your garden. There is in fact an enormous number of camellia species, 100 to 300 species in total, with some controversy over certain ones. So it seems a bit unfair to just focus on 3 different species for the purpose of this video. So I'm going to give a little nod to Camellia sinensis, which is perhaps the most popular and well known of all camellias because it's the plant from which our tea comes from. Now, Camellia sinensis is not very flamboyant in terms of its flowers, but it produces the leaves that we make tea from. And at the very end, I'm going to link to a video I made at a tea plantation in the Azores where I was recently. And of course, I've experimented with growing Camellia sinensis in my garden, and it's done well outdoors, and I even made tea once. So you can check out that video at the end if you feel so inclined. In the meantime, we're just looking at yet more hybrids of Camellia japonica and really appreciating the variety and the complexity of breeding that has gone into producing what we're now looking at. And wouldn't you just love a variety of these for your garden? I know I would. I came away from looking at all of these different ones and thinking, oh my goodness, I need to get myself to a camellia nursery and just empty out my bank account. Okay, and now we're all in for a bit of a treat because we're going to be introduced to the reticulata species of camellias just after this bit here. And oh my goodness, look at this display. It was absolutely magnificent. Such a tree-like plant. Just amazing. And the individual flowers, they look like hollyhocks. Just big, bouncy, floriferous balls of gorgeousness. I can tell you I was totally smitten. Now, the reticulata group is just a little bit more tender than japonica. Hardiness zone 9, the Wikipedia says. And this one is one that did very well in the greenhouse. I just would absolutely love one of these tree-like plants to grace my greenhouse, although it could be terribly big. And see how big they are. See those false bees in there at the flowers? It gives you some idea of the scale of these magnificent and ubiquitous blooms. It was a sight to behold. And we'll just spend a few minutes marvelling at these amazing flowers and how much these false bees actually love them. To give you some idea of the scale, this was all over my head, so I stood underneath this plant and you couldn't get a proper photo of me that showed the flowers as well. They were so high up, so really, really amazing. Camellia reticulata hybrids. So moving from the tender to the oh so much more hardy, and we're looking at a species that was made by crossing of japonica and saluensis, and the resultant species is williamsii. And several of these plants we've been looking at are of that ilk. Now this was a cross made back in the 1920s in England just to produce a camellia that was that bit more hardy. And this one is said to be hardy in most places in the UK. Here we're looking at some lachenalia, a very pretty display in what was mostly a camellia greenhouse. And now we're coming to the end of this video, and I really hope that you've enjoyed this visit with me to the Botanic Gardens, Floral and Botanic Gardens in Cologne in Germany, and seen their fantastic camellia display. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I certainly did. That's my favourite one right there. My favourite of all the camellias. I kind of kept the best one until last. And if you enjoyed this video, then you may enjoy the final German video I have for you, which is a visit to the German orchid nursery Schwerter, which is coming up very soon. And for all of you orchid lovers out there, just a shot of a cymbidium in this particular camellia greenhouse. Okay, that's all for me for the moment. Once again, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do subscribe and check back for lots more planty stuff coming your way. Bye for now.